Deidre, anytime.
Hello, my name is Deirdre Goode. I teach New Testament here at General Theological Seminary. I am 56 years old, I think. And I grew up knowing I was gay. My father was, unfortunately he died in 2010, an Anglican priest in the Church of Ireland, and had difficulty his whole life accepting that his daughter was a lesbian. Until after he died, which took place in 2010. I have a little story about that. After he died, my wife and I, we got married in Connecticut, the first opportunity it became possible to get married. And we live here together in seminary housing for faculty. My wife and I went to take my mother, who is still alive, on a trip to Istanbul. And since my partner had to fly over from New York and meet us in London, and then we flew, as you can tell, I'm originally British, then we flew to Istanbul. She was going to stay overnight in London. We were going to meet and then travel together, all of us, my mother, Julian, and I, from Terminal 5 in Heathrow. My mother, as she was preparing to host Julian for one night and making up the bed in the guest room, suddenly had a vision. She said to herself, it makes sense that Julian and Deirdre will sleep for one night in the bed that my husband and I slept in all our married life, and I will move into the guest room. Suddenly, out of the blue, after waiting 56 years, the acceptance of myself and my partner to actually spend one night in the house of my parents, where I had spent my whole life not feeling accepted and even rejected, was something I've wanted and waited for my whole life. So I'm here to say that it's possible. It's even hopeful, and one should never give up hope, because there's always the possibility that people will change, including even people that you would never expect to change. So don't give up hope, and keep the faith. So what might Jesus say to a young 12-year-old woman in Peoria, Illinois, who discovers she's gay? Jesus would say, being 12 is very challenging. It's very challenging. My mother, he would say, my mother was just about 12 when suddenly she discovered she was pregnant, and no discernible father in the neighborhood, and somebody willing to step in at the last minute and offer sort of protection and so on. So being 12, he would say, is really frightening and unnerving, and he would be sympathetic to that. But discovering that this person was gay, he would say, you have my support, my unqualified love and support for discovering yourself and for coming out in all the difficulties that involves, because being 12, you know, it's hard even to think about who you are. And I think he would say, be patient with yourself, you know, trust yourself, find a supportive community, find a community that loves you without reservation. And if you go to somewhere and they don't love you and accept you for who you are, then, as he said in another context, shake the dust off your feet and move on to another place, because Jesus' love for all of us, for us gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex people, is absolutely clear, and of that I have no doubt at all. And I recognize that the New Testament has some things that can be interpreted to be very critical of gay and lesbian people, and so that's actually one of the reasons I became a New Testament scholar, because I was sure that there were more things that could be said about that, and my father didn't have the last word on it. So that's what I spend my life doing. And Jesus had very little to say about same-sex relations, as a matter of fact. He might have known some people in same-sex relations, but it's not really Jesus that is the problem here. It's Paul in Romans, in a very uncritical, unthought-out way in Romans 1 when he talks about same-sex relations. And then it's the translations of the New Testament that for 2,000 years have translated in such a way, particularly more recently, that a person gets identified as a lifestyle rather than that being a description of who they are. So there we are.